Forward. The top secret truth about Captain Underpants.
Help! The world is in big, big trouble! Maybe the comic book on the next page will help to straighten things out.
Go!
Once upon a time, there was two cool kids named George and Harold.
We the boss daddies!
Me too!
They had a really mean principal named Mr. Crop.
Blah blah blah!
One day they hypnotized him.
You will obey us!
Okay.
They made him believe he was a superhero.
You're now Captain Underpants!
Okay.
It was funny at first, but then Mr. Crop jumped out the window.
Wait!
Mr. Crop really thought he was Captain Underpants. He got in lots of trouble.
Come back, Bob!
No way! I'm a hero!
One time a big monster attacked the school. It tried to eat out Mr. Crop. George found some superpower juice in the UFO.
Drink up, Bob!
Then Mr. Crop got superpowers. Now he can even fly and stuff. The worst part is, whenever Mr. Crop hears somebody snap their fingers, he turns into Captain Underpants. And whenever Captain Underpants gets water on his head, he turns back into Mr. Crop. So anyways, in our last adventure, there was an evil guy named Tippy Tinkletrousers.
That's me!
He built a big robo-suit. Then he climbed inside.
I'm gonna destroy Captain Underpants!
Oh yeah?
They got in a big fight.
Behold my ice ray!
Miss me?
Tippy accidentally froze his feet to the ground.
Oh no, my feet are froze!
Haha!
Rats, you broke my robot!
But Tippy's robot pants was also a time machine.
I'm going to escape by going back in time!
Oh no!
Tippy's robot pants went back in time 5 years ago. But some boys saw the robot pants and got scared. They got so scared, they all went bonkers. Mr. Crop got blamed for the whole thing.
You're fired! I'm a victim of circumstance!
Now the future has changed. Everything is different. Since Mr. Crop got fired 5 years ago,
Why me?
he never got hypnotized by George and Harold. Since Mr. Crop didn't get hypnotized,
Boo-hoo!
he never turned into Captain Underpants. And since Captain Underpants doesn't exist,
Who's that?
he wasn't there to save the world.
It will save us!
Beats me!
Tippy realized his mistake when he came back to the present.
Oh no, the world got destroyed, all because I scared those bullies!
Tippy vowed to make things right.
I will fix this mess!
But then,
Uh-oh.
who will save us now? Chapter 1. George and Harold. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is a giant zombie nerd on the left with a tie and a flat top. Harold is a giant zombie nerd on the right with a t-shirt and a bad haircut. Remember that now? Remember that now? If you read our last adventure, you may recall the final terrifying scene where Tippy Tinkletrousers ended up cowering beneath the gigantic foot of zombie nerd Harold. You were probably horrified when a super-sized shoe swam down to the ground, leaving behind a squishy red stain. You may even have commented on the surprising inappropriateness of such a murderous and bloody scene appearing in the children's book. It's fun to feel offended, isn't it? Unfortunately, I'm sorry to have to tell you that there was no murder at the end of the last book. There wasn't even any blood. What happened at the end of the last story is something called misdirection. It's what happens when you are led to believe that something is true, but in reality it's not true at all. Misdirection happens a lot in real life, especially in politics, history, education, medicine, marketing science, religion, and the political network. With all that misdirection out there, life can get a little confusing. But don't worry, this epic novel contains no misdirection whatsoever. This legendary tome will explain everything, from our recent narrative complexity to the vast mysteries of our universe. By the time you get to page 198, you'll know it all. You'll be a genius. You'll be smarter than the most brilliant scientists who ever walked the earth. So let's get started, shall we? If you've ever been to the zoo, you might have noticed that really big creatures move kind of slowly. Take elephants, for example. They don't move very fast, even when they're in a hurry. Sure, they might cover a lot of ground, but that's only because they're so big. If you were to shrink an elephant down to the size of a house cat, you'll be shocked at how long it takes for them to get from one place to another. They're so darn slow that it wouldn't be long before somebody changed the story of the tortoise and the hare to the more appropriate the miniature elephant and the hare. It's the same thing with lunchroom zombie nerds. Sure, they're big and scary as stuff, but they move really slowly. So if a zombie nerd ever lifts his foot over you with the intent of stopping you into a puddle, don't worry. You actually have a few minutes before you're in any real danger. Tippy found this out the hard way. When zombie nerd Harold lifted his foot above Tippy's head, Tippy screamed in horror. Then Tippy screamed again, and again. Then he checked his watch and screamed some more. Finally, Tippy's voice got a little scratchy from all that screaming, so he got up and walked over to one of the few remaining stores on the planet to buy some cherry-filled lozenges. While he was there, he purchased a new suit and bow tie, read part of a magazine, and got a foot massage. On his way out of the store, Tippy noticed an extra-large novelty ketchup pack that was on sale, so he bought it and dragged it back to the scene of the crime. Zombie nerd Harold's shoe was still coming down slowly as Tippy placed the extra-large novelty ketchup pack under it and walked away. Tippy climbed back into his Robo-Pants just as Zombie Nerd Harold's shoe hit the pavement and crushed a giant novelty ketchup pack. A bright white stain squished out from beneath the zombified shoe as Tippy's Robo-Pants disappeared in a crackling glow of white. You see, Tippy had mistakenly caused some trouble the last time he had gone back in time, so he had to go back again to undo the damage he had done. But before I could tell you that story, I have to give you this warning. Chapter 2. Let's get serious, folks. Did you ever notice how grown-ups hated when kids are having fun? Seriously, when was the last time you were doing something fun and some adult came over and made you stop? If you're like most kids, you're probably reading this fairy book because some adult wants you to quit playing video games or watching TV. If you don't believe me, try this experiment. Grab a few of your friends, go into the corner of a room, and start goofing around. Make some noise, start laughing and cheering, and maybe shout a "woo" or two. It's been scientifically proven that 89.4% of all grown-ups will drop whatever they're doing and rush over to put a stop to whatever nonsense you're up to. You have to wonder, why are most grown-ups like this? Weren't they ever kids themselves? Didn't they enjoy laughing and cheering and goofing around when they were young? If so, when did they stop? And why? Now, I certainly can't speak for all adults, but I'm going to anyway. I think it's a lot easier for adults to stop out someone else's fun than it is for them to reflect on their own lives and figure out where it all went so miserably wrong. It's just too depressing for grown-ups to ponder all the decades of compromises, failures, laziness, fear, and regrettable choices that slowly transformed them into running, jumping, laughing, fun-loving kids, into grumpy, complaining, calorie counting, easily offended, peace and quiet demanding grouches. In other words, it's harder to look within yourself than it is to shout, "Hey you kids, cut that out!" Keeping this in mind, you might not want to smile or laugh while reading this book. And when you get to the FLIP-E-RAMA parts, I suggest you flip with a bored, disinterested look on your face, or some adult will probably take this book away from you and make you read Sarah Plain and Tall instead. Don't say I didn't warn you. Chapter 3. Tippy returns again! Tippy Tinkletrousers was in big trouble. He had zapped himself back in time 5 years and accidentally frightened 4 bullies. This fatally mistake set in motion a series of events that ultimately got Mr. Krupp fired. And since there was no Mr. Krupp, there was no Captain Underpants. And since there was no Captain Underpants, there was nobody to save the world from the terrible devastation caused by the villains when we first reopened novels. Tippy decided there was only one thing to do. Go back in time and stop himself from scaring those bullies. But in order to do this, he would have to go back in time before the last time he had gone back in time. So Tippy set his Tinker Time travel meter for 10 minutes before the last time he had arrived in the past and pressed the Away We Go button. After several seconds of made-for-television style special effects, Tippy found himself transported to the awful night of the terrifying thunderstorm. Everything looked very familiar. He knew at that moment, the 4 bullies would come running from the school and tear across the football field. Then they would come face to face with him. Well, a slightly younger version of him. And only he could stop it all from happening. Tippy hid behind the side of the school and waited as the wind howled ferociously. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of lightning struck a nearby power line. The electricity in the school went out, and all of the windows became dark. Tippy listened closely and heard the sounds of squealing and slapping and shuffling. It sounded as if a terrible struggle was taking place inside the school. Then suddenly, the back door of the school crashed open, and the 4 petrified bullies shoved their way outside. Quickly, they darted toward the football field. This was Tippy's big chance. He aimed his Freezy Beam 4000 at the ready delinquents and zapped them all over a mountain of molecularly modified ice. The 4 bullies were frozen in place. Tippy scanned the boys with a device systems monitor and preferred them to be perfectly preserved. The carbonate and turbinate gas infused ice had been programmed to remain solid for 15 minutes, just long enough for Tippy to do his thing. Quickly, Tippy turned toward the football field, where a ball of blue lightning was growing bigger and bigger. Suddenly, it exploded in a blinding flash. And there, where the ball of lightning had been, was a giant pair of Robo-Boxers pants!
Boy, that was a close one.
Said a voice from inside the depths of the newly arrived Robo-Pants.
Captain Underpants is a lot stronger than I thought.
The zipper of the newly arrived Robo-Trousers opened, and a time man peeked out of tomorrow at the world of 5 years ago. But to his surprise, he saw an identical copy of himself staring straight at him and tapping his gigantic robotic foot impatiently.
Who are you?
Said the newly arrived Tippy.
I'm you!
Shouted future Tippy.
You from the future! What's going on?
Asked Tippy.
I'm here to stop you from scaring those kids over there.
Said future Tippy, pointing at the frozen bullies.
Why?
Said Tippy.
What's so important about those kids? I had no idea.
Said future Tippy.
All I know is I scared those kids when I came back here last time, and apparently it caused a chain reaction that resulted in the total destruction of the Earth, more or less. I see.
Said Tippy.
So what do we do now?
Future Tippy looked at his watch.
Those kids are gonna fall out in 8 minutes and 11 seconds.
He said.
We've gotta be gone by then.
So he reached into the cockpit of his Robo-Pants and grabbed one of his very first inventions, the Shrinky Pig 2000. Tippy aimed it at a younger version of himself and pressed a button. Blizzard! A powerful beam of energy blasted at the newly alive Tippy Tinkletrousers and shrunk them down to the size of a baseball. Big Tippy reached down and picked up the tiny version of himself.
What'd you do that for?
Shut, Tippy,
I can't very well have two of us running around.
said Big Tippy.
I gotta keep an eye on you.
Big Tippy tucked Tiny Tippy to his jacket pocket and checked his watch again.
4 minutes and 60 seconds.
He muttered to himself. He looked over at the 4 boys encased in the now cracking ice mound. Big Tippy turned into his Tinkle-Time travel meter and programmed to a day in the future. Time was running out. The ice around the boys was disintegrating fast, so Tippy seeked away into the center of town and pressed the waving go button and disappeared into a ball of blue lightning. 2 seconds later, the ice mountain had encased and preserved the boys disintegrated completely. Without skipping a beat, the 4 fighting friends continued their mad dash away from the school. As they ran across the football field, something about Kipper and his friends changed forever. They would never again be the same despicable bullies as they once were.
Chapter 4 Fixing the Future. Big Tippy had set his Tinker-Time travel meter for a sunny afternoon in October, 4 years in the future. He arrived as usual in a giant ball of blue lightning that grew bigger and bigger until it exploded in a blinding flash. Cried Tiny Tippy.
Shh.
Shushed Big Tippy as he shoved Tiny Tippy down into the deep darkened depths of his jacket pocket. Big Tippy listened carefully. He heard the voice of a child muttering.
This can't be good.
Tippy unzipped the zipper of his Robo-Pants and peeked out. To his delight, the world looked like it usually did. No destruction, no giant zombie nerds, no moon rocks. Everything seemed pretty normal.
Hey, it's the funny guy.
Huh? What's that again? Is that the funny guy, right? It is the funny guy! Dude, that's right there, the funny guy! It's the funny guy! Except for you being so funny! Take the
Hey, it's Professor Poopy Pants.
Shouted a small boy who Tippy recognized immediately. Suddenly, 2 cops standing nearby started to laugh, which angered Tippy.
Stop laughing!
Shouted Tippy.
My name is no longer Professor Poopy Pants. I changed it to Tippy Tinkletrousers.
The 2 cops laughed even harder.
And I got a special surprise for anybody who thinks my new name is funny.
Said the furious professor. Tippy pressed a button on his Freezy Beam 4000, causing it to rise from the depths of his Robo-Pants. He set the freeze ray for 20 minutes and zapped the cops, transforming them into frozen statues.
My Freezy Beam 4000 will take care of anybody who stands in my way.
Said Tippy.
And now,
He said with a wicked smile.
it's time for my revenge. Oh
Screamed George.
Here we go again.
Screamed Harold. Tippy chased George and Harold and their 2 pets, Sue and Crackers, through town, zapping his Freezy Beam 4000 at them and laughing maniacally. The chase lasted all afternoon and into the night. The 4 friends hid behind buildings, inside trash bins, under bridges, and even down the sewer. But it didn't matter where they sought refuge because Tippy Tinkletrousers always found them. By the morning of the next day, our heroes had found a hiding place behind some bushes near the park.
What are we gonna do?
Whispered George.
There's nowhere else to hide.
I don't know.
Whispered Harold. George and Harold looked at the 2 pets shivering at them in the morning mist.
We're not gonna make it.
Whispered George.
But there's no reason that Sue and Cracker should have to suffer.
Harold's eyes began to water.
You're right.
He whispered. George and Harold had their 2 friends Saturday as they devised a plan to return to the dinosaur age.
We should use the purple body to take Crackers back home where we found him.
Said George.
Yeah.
Said Harold.
And Scylla could stay here with him. They'll both be safe there.
As soon as it was clear, the 4 friends sneaked away from the bushes and headed for Jim Horrocks Elementary School, carefully avoid major streets and intersections. It was almost afternoon by the time George and Harold and the 2 pets reached the school. Cautiously, they sneaked through the front door and dashed up the stairs to the library.
Hey, Bubs!
Shouted Mr. Krupp angrily.
Where have you kids been?
George and Harold looked down and saw Mr. Krupp carrying a large cardboard box.
Well,
Mr. Krupp shouted.
get down here and explain yourselves.
George and Harold looked at the 2 pets and continued running up the stairs. Mr. Krupp was furious. His day hadn't started out very well. For some strange reason, all the red curtains in his office had been disappearing, and he wasn't happy about it. So Mr. Krupp had driven angrily to the store, bought him a replacement box of curtains, started a big fight with the cashier, got a flat tire on the way home, and now his truant students were bringing animals into the school, ignoring his commands and running up the stairs.
You kids get back here!
Shouted Mr. Krupp as he chased after the 4 frightened friends. George and Harold and Crackers and Sue raced to the top of the stairs, dashed into the library, and locked the door behind them. There they beheld their old troublesome nemesis, the Purple Potty. It was a homemade time machine that had a few quirks to say the least, and our heroes approached it cautiously.
Do you still remember how to use this thing?
Asked Harold.
Of course.
Said George.
We just used it yesterday morning. All I had to do is set the controller for 65 million years ago, then pull it down on the chain. Easy squeezy like a cheesy.
Suddenly, Mr. Krub reached the library door and struggled with the locked doorknob. The boys heard a shuffling sound followed by the jingling of keys.
It's spooky!
Cried George. The four friends climbed into the Purple Potty and George closed the door. At that very moment, Mr. Krub came crashing through the library door with a box of red curtains. He ran to the Purple Potty and banged on the door.
I know you're in there!
He screamed.
You can't hide from me forever!
Hurry!
Cried Harold as George fiddled with the controller.
We got to get out of here!
I'm working as fast as I can!
Cried George. Suddenly, a gigantic dark shadow filled the library. Mr. Krub turned to see a huge robotic pair of trousers at the window. The zipper unzipped, and Tippy Tinkletrousers peeked through the cavernous opening.
I got you now!
He shouted. Tippy reached for the button on his Freezy Beam 4000 as Mr. Krub cowered in terror. At that very moment, George finished setting the controller for 65 million years ago. Then he pulled down on the chain. All at once, there was a brilliant flash of green light, and the Purple Potty, along with Mr. Krub in his cardboard box, disappeared into a whirlwind of electrified ozone. Chapter 5. Tiny Tippy's Tremendous Task.
Rats!
Screamed Tippy as they watched the Purple Potty disappear.
Those kids have a time machine, and I don't know where they went.
Cried Tiny Tippy from the depths of Big Tippy's pocket.
Those kids took off in a time machine,
Big Tippy barked at the miniature version of himself.
and they took Captain Underpants with him.
Where did it go?
Asked Tiny Tippy.
How should I know?
Big Tippy yelled.
I got an idea.
Said Tiny Tippy.
Why don't I go back in time and find out?
Good idea, me.
Said Big Tippy. He reached down and placed Tiny Tippy in the library.
You go back in time 10 minutes and listen to everything they say. And when I show up, tell me where they went.
You got it.
Said Tiny Tippy. He set his Tinkle Time travel meter for 10 minutes ago, and in a blue cracking instant, he was gone. Tiny Tippy arrived in the same spot he had left, only it was now 10 minutes earlier. He heard some people running up the stairs, so he decided to hide behind a trash can. Suddenly, George, Harold, and their two pets dashed into the room and locked the door behind them. Tippy Tiny watches the boys tiptoe toward the tall time-traveling toilet.
Do you still remember how to use this thing?
Asked Harold.
Of course.
Said George.
We just used it yesterday morning. All I had to do is set the controller for 65 million years ago, then pull it down on the chain. Easy squeezy like a cheesy.
Muttered Tiny Tippy.
Now I'm back in time to Mesozoic.
Tiny Tippy watched as the four friends climbed into the time machine and closed the door. He saw Mr. Krub crash through the library door and bang on the lavender lavatory. Then he saw himself, the big version of himself that is, appear at the window.
I got you now!
Shouted Tiny Tippy. Suddenly, there was a brilliant flash of green light, and the Purple Potty, along with Mr. Krub in his cardboard box, disappeared into a whirlwind of electrified ozone.
Rats!
Screamed Tippy as they watched the Purple Potty disappear.
Those kids have a time machine, and I don't know where they went.
I do.
Said Tiny Tippy as he stepped out from behind the garbage can.
Who are you?
Asked Big Tippy.
I'm Tiny Tippy.
Said Tiny Tippy.
That's impossible.
Said Big Tippy.
Tiny Tippy is right here.
He reached into his pocket and pulled out the miniature version of himself, who had been complaining because he couldn't see a thing.
I'm 10 minutes older than that guy.
Said Tiny Tippy.
You sent me to back in time so I could find out where those kids went to.
Oh, I get it.
Said Big Tippy.
Good idea, me. So where'd they go?
You went backwards in time to 65 million years ago.
Said Tiny Tippy.
Ha-ha!
Said Big Tippy and slightly younger Tiny Tippy to themselves simultaneously.
They're going back in time to the Mesozoic era.
Big Tippy picked up Tiny Tippy and shoved him into his pocket next to slightly younger Tiny Tippy.
Let's all go back to the dinosaur age, shall we? If you time it right, we can get there just before that Purple Potty arrives.
Chapter 6. 65 million...
65 million years ago. The primitive midday sky lit up with several blinding flashes as a Purple Potty suddenly appeared on top of an ancient tree. George and Harold had successfully brought Crackers back to where I had found him, but when they opened the door to Purple Potty, they discovered they also brought a stowaway.
What the heck is going on here?
Cried Mr. Krub as he hung from a branch high up in a treetop.
Oh no!
Cried George.
Mr. Krub must have been standing too close to the Purple Potty when we zapped backwards in time. He got zapped back with us.
Harold reached out his hand to grab hold of Mr. Krub.
How could things get any worse?
He asked. Suddenly, the tree started to shake. Went the tree. George and Harold looked down and saw Tippy's gigantic Robo-Pants kicking the side of the tree.
What's he doing here?
Cried Harold.
I don't know,
Said George.
but I think we're about to fall!
The horrible kicking continued and the tree shook wildly. Finally, the purple potty slid sideways and toppled over.
We're doomed!
Screamed Harold as they all fell. The purple potty cracked and split apart as it tumbled down the side of the tree. Mr. Krupp fell too, smacking against every branch on the way down. Suddenly, the purple potty hit the ground with a terrible crash and broke apart into 1,000 pieces. Mr. Krupp hit the ground too, but was surprised to find out that he wasn't hurt a bit. Big Tippy kicked through the wreckage of the purple potty but could not find any trace of George and Harold or their pets.
Where did they go?
He asked.
Look! Up there!
Cried the two tiny Tippies who were peeking out of Big Tippy's pocket. Crackers had grabbed George and Harold and Sue at the last second.
Good boy, Crackers!
Cried George.
You saved us! Not for long!
Screamed Big Tippy as he appeared peevishly from a porthole on top of his Robo-Pants. George and Harold looked down at Mr. Krupp, who was still trying to figure out how he'd fallen 60 feet and not gotten hurt. The two boys snapped their fingers. Suddenly, a welcome smile spread across Mr. Krupp's face. Immediately, he pulled off his shoes and socks. Then he unclipped his tie and ripped off his shirt. He grabbed a red curtain from the cardboard box beside him and tied it around his neck as he wiggled out of his pants. Captain Underpants was back! Captain Underpants was back! And Tippy Tinkletrousers and his two tiny twins were in for the fight of their lives! Chapter 7. Two Tiny Traitors. George and Harold went through the thick jungle foliage with Crackers and Sue flying above them. Captain Underpants decided to tag along too, just for fun. Big Tippy jumped onto the back of a nearby Tyrannosaurus Rex and chased after them.
You can't ride forever!
Shouted Big Tippy.
When I catch you guys, I'm gonna tear you apart! Can we help?
Asked the two tiny Tippies who were tucked away in Big Tippy's jacket pocket.
No!
Yelled Big Tippy sternly.
You two keep quiet while I take care of business. This is a job for a man, not two little twerps like you!
As the chase continued, the two tiny Tippies grumbled to themselves.
I'm getting tired of hearing Jeff bossing us around.
Said Tiny Tippy.
Me too.
Said slimy younger Tiny Tippy.
He thinks he's a big shot just because he's huge. I sure wish I still had my Goosey Bro 4000.
Said Tiny Tippy.
Then I can make myself big again. I was just thinking the same thing.
Said slimy younger Tiny Tippy.
But unfortunately, we stuck the Goosey Bro 4000 on top of our robot suit and Captain Underpants is trying it back in Chapter 8 of Revolting novel. Hey!
Cried Tiny Tippy.
Why don't we go back? Forward in time to Chapter 8 of our Revolting novel. We could grab that Goosey Bro 4000 and make ourselves gigantic. I like the way you think, me.
Said slimy younger Tiny Tippy. So while Big Tippy chased everybody through the treacherous jungle of the Cretaceous period, the two tiny Tippies set the Tinkle Time travel means for the night of the big battle from Chapter 8 for our last epic novel. Big Tippy was so engrossed in his pursuit of our heroes, he didn't even notice a teeny-weeny blue sparks of flashing light emanating from the pocket of his two devils goggling and disappeared in with a veritable tower spear. Chapter 8. Mission Improbable. Instantly, the two tiny Tippies zapped forward in time, only to find themselves knee-deep in something creamy, coconutty, and marshmallowy. Honey? Said a mother who was setting her dinner table. Two little patties and pants are walking around and brushing a salad!
Oh, really?
Said her son.
And I'm the one seeing the therapist.
Tiny Tippy and slightly younger Tiny Tippy crawled out of the serving bowl and shook out the pineapple chunks and mandarin orange slices that had stuck to their legs. Then they jumped to the floor and searched for the male swan in the front door. Outside, they could hear the crashing sounds of the terrifying battle between Captain Underpants and Big Tippy. The two tiny Tippies ran toward the noises until they arrived at the school's football field. Captain Underpants had just started pulling out Tippy's robo-arms. One by one, the rivets in the robo-suit's thick steel belt began to pop. Captain Underpants yanked and tugged and pulled, and finally the robo-suit tore in half with a terrible clank. Tiny Tippy and slightly younger Tiny Tippy ran over to the place where Captain Underpants had dropped the upper portion of the robo-suit. Quickly, they searched the twisted metal until they found what they were looking for. The Goosey Bro 4000. Outside, they could hear the crackling sounds of Big Tippy zapping himself backwards in time. A blinding light flashed up the nighttime sky as the two Tippies dragged the Goosey Bro 4000 from the wreckage and carried it away with them through the parking lot. Soon, they came to a darkened street behind some old warehouses.
Okay,
Said Tiny Tippy.
you zap me, and I'll zap you. Hey,
Said slightly younger Tiny Tippy.
how come you get to go first? Because I'm slightly older than you.
Said Tiny Tippy.
Yeah, it's slightly more mature. Alright.
Said slightly younger Tiny Tippy, who could not argue with the fact that Tiny Tippy was indeed 10 minutes more mature than himself.
Let's just do this thing and get it over with.
He aimed the Goosey Girl 4000 at Tiny Tippy and jumped on a button. And before he could even say, Blizzard! A beam of energy zapped Tiny Tippy, causing him to grow 30 feet tall.
Zap me again!
Said Tiny Tippy.
Alright.
Said slightly younger Tiny Tippy.
And then you'll zap me, right?
Sure.
Said Tiny Tippy.
I promise.
Blizzard! Went another bright beam of energy. This time Tiny Tippy grew to be 60 feet tall.
Ha ha ha!
He laughed.
Behold, I have been reborn as Super Mega Tippy!
My turn!
Cried slightly younger Tiny Tippy. Super Mega Tippy reached down and grabbed the Goosey Girl 4000. He tucked it into the cup holder on his electrical panel and waved goodbye to slightly younger Tiny Tippy. Cried slightly younger Tiny Tippy.
What about me?
Sorry,
Said Super Mega Tippy.
but this is a job for a man, not a little twerp like you.
Chapter 9. Meanwhile, 7 pages ago, 65 million years earlier, Big Tippy had chased our heroes to the jagged edge of a cliff overlooking the lake. Crackers grabbed George and Harold by their short collars, and they all sailed safely over the edge of the cliff to join Captain Underpants in the clouds. Big Tippy's Tyrannosaurus Rex screeched to a halt on the cliff's edge and roared ferociously at the 5 floating friends.
We won!
Captain Underpants laughed at Tippy.
Now it's our turn to chase you!
This isn't a game,
Yelled Big Tippy.
this is serious!
He leaped off of the neck of the T-Rex and grabbed Captain Underpants with a patented Robo-Duck Exo-Rex Mechaneck Gripper. Together they fell 1,000 feet into the lake below. When they emerged from the depths of the lake, something had changed. Tippy was still just as mean and ornery as ever, but Captain Underpants looked different.
What the heck is going on here?
Yelled the angry-looking hero.
Oh no!
Cried George.
Captain Underpants got water on his head! He changed back into Mr. Crop!
Quick, Crackers!
Called Harold.
Fly us down there as fast as you can!
Crackers glided down towards the temporary struggle below, and the boys snapped their fingers with all their might. But it did no good. Mr. Crup's head was still soaking wet, so he could not change back into Captain Underpants.
Well, look what I just figured out.
Cried Big Tippy.
Captain Underpants turns back into a grubby old elementary school principal whenever he gets wet.
You leave him alone!
Yelled George, still snapping his fingers in vain.
Yeah!
Cried George.
It's not a fair fight anymore!
Wow,
Laughed Big Tippy incredulously.
he's gotta be the world's easiest superhero to defeat. I could've destroyed him with a squirt gun.
Suddenly a blinding flash lit up the world around them. Then came the footsteps. Terrible, deafening, tumultuous footsteps that shook the earth with each thundering stomp. Finally, a massive shadow spread across the lake. Big Tippy looked up. It was Super Mega Tippy.
Hey,
Shouted Big Tippy. He quickly checked his jacket pocket and found it to be empty.
where'd you come from? How'd you get so big? Where's the other one? None of that's important right now.
Said Super Mega Tippy.
What's important now is who's in charge. Hey, you'll never believe this.
Said Big Tippy, ignoring his diabolical double.
I just figured out if you get Captain Underpants wet, he was his superpowers. His weakness is water?
Said Super Mega Tippy.
Wow, really? I know.
Said Big Tippy.
I couldn't believe it myself. Hey, I'm gonna destroy him real quick. Then we can get out of here and go rule the world and stuff. You're not going to destroy him.
Said Super Mega Tippy.
I am. Now hold on, Bob.
Said Big Tippy.
I got him, so I'm gonna destroy him. Oh yeah?
Said Super Mega Tippy with a growl that made the surface of the lake tremble.
Well, I'm bigger than you, so I'm gonna decide who destroys who.
He took a giant step toward Big Tippy and reached down with an extended flex Mechaneck Gripper.
Not so fast.
Cried Big Tippy. He pressed a button on his control panel, causing the back of the Robo-Pants to lower. Suddenly, a gigantic metal arm emerged from the depths of Tippy's giant robo-rear, revealing a 48-ton thermonuclear bomb.
You take one step closer and I'll blow us all to smithereens.
Said Big Tippy.
You're forgetting something?
Yelled Super Mega Tippy.
I have a bomb too, and it's a lot bigger than yours.
Super Mega Tippy took a step closer as Big Tippy pressed a button. Suddenly, a light on the side of the bomb began to flash red. A computerized voice emanating from the bomb's arming system began a countdown.
This bomb will detonate in 60 seconds.
Said the voice.
You pressed a button!
Screamed Super Mega Tippy incredulously.
I can't believe you actually pressed the button! I don't care.
Cried Big Tippy.
I've been working on my revenge for years. I'm not gonna let you rob me at this moment. I don't care if it kills me too.
This bomb will detonate in 45 seconds.
Said the bomb.
We can't turn these bombs off, you know.
Said Super Mega Tippy.
Once the countdown starts, it's over. I told you. I don't care.
Said Big Tippy.
I just want to be the one who finally destroys Captain Underpants.
Super Mega Tippy reached down with an uncommon extended flash Mechaneck Gripper and cut Mr. Krupp free.
Hey,
Screamed Big Tippy.
what are you doing? He's mine.
Said Super Mega Tippy as he drew back his foot.
But what about me?
Said Big Tippy.
What about my bomb? Your bomb, your problem,
said Super Mega Tippy as he kicked Big Tippy with all his might. Chapter 10. What really killed the dinosaurs? Screamed Big Tippy as he sailed into the closet at an incredible speed.
This bomb will detonate in 30 seconds,
said the bomb. Big Tippy flew across North America, soaring faster and faster through the stratosphere.
This bomb will detonate in 15 seconds,
said the bomb. Big Tippy began to lose altitude as he sailed toward the Gulf of Mexico.
This bomb will detonate in 5 seconds,
said the bomb.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Finally, Big Tippy landed just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula with a violently colossal splashdown, as seen below. The massive explosion that followed blew a chunk in the earth 15 miles deep and more than 60 miles wide. A terrible earthquake shook the entire planet as a giant tsunami sent a towering wall of seawater rolling across the continents.
What's happening?
Cried George.
It's that dumb nuclear bomb.
Shouted Super Mega Tippy.
It just triggered the start of the Cenozoic era. I'm gonna become extinct if I don't get out of here.
Quickly, Super Mega Tippy set his Tinker Time travel meter for 64,793 to 216 years into the future and pressed the away we go button. Suddenly, gigantic bolts of lightning began shooting out of Super Mega Tippy's rope pants as a blue ball of white enveloped them.
Quick, Crackers!
Cried Harold as thick volcanic ash began blocking out the sun.
Fly to the blue line! This is only just an escape!
Crackers pointed his long reptilian neck toward the cracking orb, and the four friends sailed downward into the blinding blue lightning. Chapter 11. 206,784 years ago. A flash of white light filled the mid-afternoon haze of the Pleistocene epoch. The crystal lake that had once been there was now gone. In its place were vast savanna plains stretching onto thick, forested hillsides and rocky caves. All was quiet, except for the sounds of insects and birds, and the faint rhythmic drumming far off in the forest.
Where are we?
Asked George.
I think a better question would be, when are we?
Said Harold. Super Mega Tippy was surprised to see George and Harold and Crackers and Sulu.
Well,
He said.
it looks like we have 4 stowaways.
But what Super Mega Tippy did not realize is that he had a 5th stowaway as well. It was slightly younger Tiny Tippy, who at that very moment was carefully crawling down a button in Super Mega Tippy's shirt.
That stupid Mega Tippy thinks he can lie to me and get away with it.
Said slightly younger Tiny Tippy as he jumped onto the control panel.
But I'll teach him a lesson he'll never forget.
Slightly younger Tiny Tippy pried up an aluminum vent and slipped effortlessly to the wiry innards of the control panel. First, he reversed the polarity of the emulsifying salsa flange inhibitor. Then he switched the blue and the green wires and the reverse sum-gobulating tractor McFractionalizer. Finally, he snipped all the wires to the Freezy Beam 4000's off button. Laughed slightly younger Tiny Tippy.
The next time that big jerk uses his Freezy Beam 4000, he's going to get a big surprise.
Meanwhile, the drama outside was getting serious. Super Mega Tippy swatted our heroes as he soared bravely through the unknown sky. Cracker skillfully swooped and dove and whooped-de-whooped as the Extendo-Flex Mechanic Gripper whizzed after them. But Super Mega Tippy quickly became impatient and unleashed 2 more Extendo-Flex Mechanic Grippers. Poor Crackers could not outmaneuver them all, and the 4 friends were soon captured.
I got you now!
Screamed Super Mega Tippy.
Hey, look!
Said George, pointing at the ground behind Super Mega Tippy.
There's a bunch of cavemen down there watching us!
I'm not falling for that trick.
Said Super Mega Tippy.
As soon as I turn around, you guys are gonna try to escape.
No, seriously!
Cried Harold.
We're not lying! Look behind you!
Super Mega Tippy glanced quickly and noticed that the boys were indeed telling the truth. Standing behind them at the edge of the forest were about a dozen very surprised-looking cavemen staring up in dumbfounded bewilderment.
You boys shouldn't be surprised to see cavemen.
Said Super Mega Tippy as he studied the strange prehistoric people.
We're in the middle of the Pleistocene epoch. I bet you dumb kids didn't know that, did you?
Super Mega Tippy turned to smile haughtily at George and Harold, but of course they were gone. See what had been if we figured to extend the Flex Mechanic Grippers and the 4 friends had fired away.
No!
Screamed Super Mega Tippy as he saw the gigantic feet in frustration. The startled cavemen screamed and ran in terror back to their homes in the deep forest. Super Mega Tippy grabbed some strong vines and tied Mr. Crub to a boulder underneath a waterfall.
There!
He sneered.
That should keep your moist and powerless until I get back!
Then he stormed into the forest searching for George and Harold and their pets. Chapter 12. Calling all cavemen.
How are we ever going to get out of this mess?
Asked Harold.
I don't know,
Said George.
but we're gonna need Tippy Tinkletrousers if you ever want to get back home.
Are you kidding?
Said Harold.
We can't trust that guy! He can't even trust himself!
I know,
Said George.
but Tippy has a time machine, and we don't. So we're gonna have to defeat him.
But we need an army to defeat that guy!
Said Harold.
So let's go get an army.
Said George. The four friends squatted above the grassy plains as they followed the sounds of beating drums. Soon they arrived at the forest. The drumming was getting louder. Cracker swooped down and landed behind some bushes near the caves. Just beyond them was the Cave People village. George and Harold and Cracker Sulu peeked over the thick bushes as they watched the cavemen and cavewomen go about their daily routines. They seemed peaceful, so George decided to speak up.
Hello,
Said George.
we come in peace. We are friends.
The cave people looked confused and startled. They did not seem to understand.
Maybe they don't speak English.
Said Harold.
Hello, hey.
Said George, who only spoke one other language.
Iwe onke inwe ispe. Iwe arwe ensfrey.
That didn't work either. The cave people grunted and sniffed at George and Harold and their pets, but they said nothing. Suddenly, off in the distance, the sounds of gigantic footsteps came thundering through the deep forest. Tippy was coming, and he was getting closer and closer with each terrified stomp.
I know you're in that village,
Tippy screamed.
but you can't hide from me.
Tippy crashed through the trees and stomped into the village, kicking over huts and smooshing everything in sight. The terrified cave people grabbed their children and ran for the safety of the caves behind their village. George and Harold and Crackers and Sulu ran into the caves also, and hid with the cave people in the darkness as the destruction outside continued. After a while, some cave teenagers started a campfire. The flickering light illuminated the massive walls of the caves as the cave people whimpered and huddled together in horror.
Wow,
Said George.
some army they turned out to be.
It's not their fault.
Said Harold.
They never seen a giant Robo-Pants before. They're just scared.
If we can only communicate with them,
Said George.
there's gotta be some way to reach them.
Harold looked up at the giant brick walls of the cave.
How about pictures?
He asked.
Hey, good idea.
Said George. Harold walked over to the campfire and grabbed a charred, smoking stick from the burning cinders. Then he went to one side of the giant cave and started to create the world's first cave drawing. At first, the cave people were astonished. They had never seen anybody draw before. They laughed and pointed and jumped up and down every time Harold drew something new. But when Harold drew Tippy and his Robo-Pants, the cave people became frightened. They grunted nervously and lowered their heads in fear and submission.
Wow.
Said Harold.
How are we ever gonna change their minds about Tippy?
No,
Said George.
let's make a wordless comic. You'll understand that.
Good idea.
Said Harold.
Let's do it.
So George and Harold found a ladder and began creating the world's very first comic. The cave people watched with excitement as George and Harold's tale unfolded. Soon, their opinions about Tippy and his Robo-Pants began to evolve. Hey Seth, I'm gonna need the script you're writing for chapter 13. Seth? Oh, Lord Hater! Oh, you feel so good. Yeah, whatever. I can improvise. Chapter 13! The world's oldest comic!
Starring Oak and GLUK.
Such a lovely day. The sun's shining, the colors are bright, the butterflies flying, the flowers are blooming. Well, time for my morning swim. Hey, fishy friend. Wow, so high. Have a nice day. Da 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 da. Ow! Ah, I hit something. Wait, this isn't a border. It's a shell.
Yep, that's right.
I'm gonna hide in here.
Thought you could hide from me? Let's see about that. Gosh! Ha ha ha! I got you now! Hey, the little lizard escaped! Get back here! You can't hide from me forever!
Careful, careful.
Aha! Gotcha! Bye!
I'm falling! I'm about to fall!
Hey, did you hear something? This looks like a giant rat.
Well, I guess I have to extend my boat.
Hold on, we gotcha.
I'm saved! I'm saved!
Wait, who are you? That's it! You're gonna get squashed when I... Where'd you go? It won't be long now!
Hey, I have a plan. We can use this vine and tie it around 2 trees to make a rope. Hey, right here!
There you are! You're gonna get in so much trouble once I... I was expecting the fall to be a bit longer. Hey!
You know, it actually looks a little weird. Speaking of weird, which one? Gotta hide. Up there!
I got you now!
I like to see you try.
Okay, here goes! Hey!
Who did that? How dare you kick me? You will answer for your actions.
I'm out of here! Not again! Like seriously, I was expecting more fall damage. No!
Wait, why are we repeating the same joke twice now? I don't know, but let's get out of here.
You meddling kids! When I fight something who's better than me, you'll be impossible!
Be impossible. Hey, be! Okay, spread out! I'll grab these boulders, place it on top of each other, and make it into a creature. I'll get these berries, and then I'll Squash him! Grab a stick, make paint, and paint a face on it!
And now, with the seesaw to set off the pineapple.
Hey, big watermelon!
Finally, I got you now.
Where'd they go?
There! Hey! You're not the two kids I was looking for. Huh? Oh no. Oh, come on. Should my bones be broken right now? I feel like it's becoming a habit at this point. Ow!
Nope, it's not what that sound.
Grr! I will have my revenge!
Whew. Anyways, Chapter 14, Clash of the Cavemen. Once the cave people read George and Harold's cave comic, they stopped being afraid of Tippy and his Robo-Pants. Now they were inspired. Quickly, they divided themselves into groups and began planning their counterattacks. George and Harold watched as the cave people grabbed their own charred sticks from the fire and began drawing out elaborate plans. Even though they could always speak in grunts and groans, they all understood comics, and they all knew what needed to be done. Before long, everyone high-fived and sneaked out the back of the cave. The cave people ran up the hillside, tying vines between trees, placed banana peels all over the ground, and setting booby traps everywhere they could think of. Once everyone was ready, George and Harold and Sue hopped onto Crackers' back, and they flew around the cave to where Tippy was still busy destroying the village.
Oh, Tippy!
Called George.
Where have you been? You're gonna miss all the fun!
Tippy turned quickly and chased after the four friends, who led them directly into the cave people's traps. He glanced at and noticed a vine tied tidily between two tree trunks. Quickly, he screeched to a halt. Tippy bellowed.
Did you think I was going to fall for that lame trick?
Tippy rolled his eyes in contempt as he jumped over the vine and landed on a bunch of banana peels.
Ah!
Tippy screamed as he slid and scratched the ground. Then Tippy started sliding on the banana peels down a steep hill toward the cliff below.
Ah!
Tippy wailed as he slid faster and faster. Finally, Tippy flipped over the edge of the cliff and tumbled into the tar pit below with a mighty sploosh. Tippy was furious. He pulled himself up as the black tar screamed.
Is that all you got?
But the cave people had a few more surprises in store for Tippy.
You stupid cave jerks!
Tippy screamed as he finally came to his senses.
Is that all you got?
But unfortunately for Tippy, there was still more to come.
Ah!
Screamed Tippy as his tar-covered rubble butt caught on fire. Tippy ran shrieking toward the small pond as the flames spread everywhere. Finally, the screaming robotic fireball plunged deep into the cooling waters of the pond with a gigantic splash. George, Harold, Crackers, Sulu, and the cave people gathered around the edge of the pond to see what had become of their evil nemesis. For a few minutes, everything was calm. Then the surface of the water began to tremble. Suddenly, Tippy's bruised, battered, and burned rubber body rose from the bubbling depths of the pond.
Is that all you got?
Tippy demanded as he lunged through the cave people and chased after them. But unfortunately for Tippy, they still had much more unpleasantness in store for them. Chapter 15, The Incredibly Graphic Violence Chapter, Part 1. And Introducing!
Something a story to tell you. Flip-E-RAMAs were first created nearly 200,000 years ago on stone tablets. These cheesy animations were once upon a flip, but they were so heavy they often resulted in smashed thumbs and broken fingers.
Ancient Egyptians, desperate to solve this problem, invented papyrus around 3500 BC so that flip-E-RAMAs could be flipped safely by everybody. This enjoyed this ancient art form now made even cheesier through the digital magic of FLIP-E-RAMA!
Boulder Bash! Radioactive! Temper Trauma! Chapter 16. What really caused the Ice Age?
Is
moaned Tippy as he fell to his battered, smoldering knees. Tippy's gigantic robot hands might have been a technological marvel, but they were no match for caveman cleverness. Tippy was in trouble, but he still had one last trick up his sleeve. He reached down to his control panel and pressed the Freezy Beam 4000's button. Suddenly, the battered top of the Robo-Pants opened up, and the Freezy Beam 4000 rose menacingly from the robotic innards. Instantly, a massive burst of ice blasted at the cave people. Fortunately, they all got out of the way just in time, but the ice kept blasting anyway.
What's wrong with this thing?
Said Tippy, as he pressed the Freezy Beam 4000's off button repeatedly. The button was stuck, so Tippy pulled the emergency shut-off lever. That wouldn't budge either,
It's almost as if someone had just tampered with my control panel.
said Tippy, unaware that tiptoeing across the floor at that very moment was someone who had just tampered with his panel control. Slightly younger Tiny Tippy, still angry that he had been betrayed by his treacherous twin, had rigged the Freezer Beam 4000 so that it could never be turned off. Now, the ice beam was going berserk. Glaciers of savannah ice, programmed to last for 70,000 years, cascaded from Tippy's Freezer Beam 4000, encasing the trees and securing his robotic feet to the frozen ground. Things were getting out of control. Tippy quickly crawled under his command center, desperately trying to figure out a way to turn off the spewing icebergs. This was slightly younger Tiny Tippy's chance. He reached out with his Robo-Gloves and grabbed the Goosey Girl 4000. Then, with a mighty leap, he jumped to the opening at the top of the robotic legs and hopped down to the frosty ground below. The ice was spreading at a dangerous rate. Slightly younger Tiny Tippy needed to act fast. With no time to spare, he grabbed a piece of bubblegum from his pocket, chewed it up, read the comic on the wrapper, then jammed the sticky bubblegum into the button of the Goosey Girl 4000.
Now,
Said slightly younger Tiny Tippy,
when I press this button down, it'll stick.
which is exactly what happened. Blizzard! A continuous beam of growth energy burst forth from the goose-shaped contraption. Quickly, slightly younger Tiny Tippy jumped into the energy beam and grew to an impressive 30 feet tall.
Awesome!
Cried slightly younger Tiny Tippy, as he jumped in front of the beam again and again, like a child leaping through a lawn sprinkler. Each time he hit the beam of energy, he grew another 30 feet.
It's huge!
Slightly younger Tiny Tippy, who was now towering above the earth at an impressive 120 feet. He reached down to pick up the Goosey Girl 4000 with his Robo-Glove.
Just a few more zaps and I'll be... Whoops!
Cried slightly younger Tiny Tippy, as the Goosey Girl 4000 slipped out of the Robo-Glove and tumbled down on the thick ice below him. Unfortunately, the continuously zapping beam of energy was now pointed directly at the gigantic mound of ice, which caused it to grow and expand and spread out even farther. Quickly, the ice began pushing its way east across the Ohio Valley and west into the part of the Earth that would one day be known as Indiana. Then it began shoving its way north into Michigan and Canada and beyond. An accidental glacial period was developing rapidly, and slightly younger Tiny Tippy needed to get out of there fast if he wanted to avoid it. Chapter 17. Have an ice day. George and Harold grabbed their pets and ran as fast as they could to escape the rapidly spreading ice fields. Their caveman friends were right behind them,
Quick, Quackers!
said George.
You gotta take Sybil and get out of here! It's your only hope!
But something was wrong with Crackers. The usually perky pterodactyl seemed to be getting sick,
Maybe he's catching a cold.
cried Harold.
He's not used to the freezing temperatures.
Soon, they came upon the massive waterfall in which the crop was tied up. The ice was already beginning to turn the flowing water into frozen slush,
You gotta rescue Mr. Crop!
said George.
But there's no time.
Said Harold.
We'll get froze.
We don't have a choice.
Said George.
We can't just leave him there.
George and Harold ran toward Mr. Crump and began pulling up the vines holding him in place. When the cave people saw what the boys were trying to do, they also stopped running and came forward to help. But it was too late. The ice got closer and closer as everyone pulled desperately on the vines in rapidly freezing water. The frigid, slushy water wrapped around Harold's shirt as thick ice encased George's body,
Oh, well.
said Harold as he shivered in the rapidly expanding permafrost.
At least we tried our best.
Said George as the ice flowed up around his face and covered the top of his head. The end had finally come for George and Harold. It was all over. The only hope they had left was that maybe someday in the future, an archaeologist would dig up their fossilized bones and have a lot of explaining to do. But even that hope seemed far-fetched at best. Chapter 18. Something much less far-fetched. Suddenly, the ice around George and Harold and their cave people friends shattered with a mighty karate chop,
You didn't think I'd leave you behind, did you?
said slightly younger Tippy as he scooped everyone up with one gigantic shovel of his Robo-Glove. Everyone held on to one another for warmth as slightly younger Tiny Tippy trudged south across the frosty glaciers. It was about this time that George and Harold realized that Mr. Crup's face was no longer wet. It had been freeze-dried along with everyone else around them. So they snapped their fingers, and suddenly, a miraculous hero returned. Gee, it's a bit nippy today, said Captain Underpants,
Forget about that. No!
said George, shivering. Quickly, he and Harold filled Captain Underpants in on the severity of the situation, and before long they all had a plan. Captain Underpants flew out a slightly younger Tiny Tippy's Robo-Glove and grabbed his massive belt buckle. With one sensational swoosh, Captain Underpants ripped Tippy's pants, belt and all, right off of his robo-legs.
Hey, no fair!
Screamed younger tiny Tippy as he stood shivering in his gigantic robotic boxer shorts. Captain Underpants quickly tied the ripped pants legs in a knot and told everybody to climb aboard. Soon, all of the good guys were tucked securely onto the polyester/cotton blend trousers and flying someplace safe and warm. They zipped across a vast ocean and finally came to a place that was not covered in ice. Captain Underpants swooped down and went near FLIP-E-RAMA cave in southern France. George and Harold said goodbye to their cave people friends.
We sure you like a new home here.
Said George.
Keep trying.
Said Harold.
Hey, take care of our pals Crackers and Sulu, okay?
Wait a minute.
Said George.
We can't leave our pets here. Crackers is sick. We need to see a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Said Harold.
I almost forgot. We got to get to the future somehow.
Quickly, Captain Underpants flew George and Harold and Crackers and Sulu back to the frozen glaciers of North America. If they were ever going to get back to modern times, slightly younger tiny Tippy was their best bet. Chapter 19. The Vow. When our 5 heroes finally reached slightly younger tiny Tippy, he didn't seem at all surprised to see them.
I'm not at all surprised to see you.
Really? I didn't notice!
Said slightly younger tiny Tippy as he sipped casually from his water bottle.
I'll bet you guys want to ride back to the future, don't you?
We sure do, said Captain Underpants. Gee, that would be swell. Slightly younger tiny Tippy pointed his water bottle at Captain Underpants' face and squeezed. What the heck is going on here? Said Mr. Krupp as our 5 heroes began falling to the frozen ground below.
Ah!
Screamed Harold.
We're doomed!
Fortunately, slightly younger tiny Tippy caught them before they hit the ground. But unfortunately, he had something even worse in mind for them when a 120-foot drop to their deaths. As slightly younger tiny Tippy set his tinkle time travel meter for a day in the upcoming future, George and Harold bemoaned their continuing recurring predicament.
Well, here we are again.
Said George.
Back in the same mess we always end up in.
I know.
Said Harold.
It seems like every time we crack a joke or make a comic book, something terrible happens.
You know,
Said George.
if we ever get out of this mess, I think we should stop goofing around all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
Said Harold.
We need to quit making comic books and start paying more attention to our schoolwork.
And as Blue, Crocker, and White began to envelop them, George and Harold made a vow to change their ways. They pledged to give up pranks and jokes in comic books, and they promised to begin taking life seriously and to start acting like responsible grown-ups.
Wow,
Said George as they all disappeared into a cracking whirlpool of liquid time.
I feel more mature already.
Me too.
Said Harold. Chapter 20. 30 years from now. Suddenly, a giant ball of blue lightning exploded in the southern end of a busy Midwestern city. George and Harold looked around them and saw the familiar sights of cars and houses and fast food restaurants.
We're home!
Cried George.
It sure seems that way.
Said Harold.
But how come everything looks so old?
Because we're not back where we started.
Laughed slightly younger tiny Tippy.
We're 30 years in the future.
Why did we come to the future?
Asked George.
Because
Said Tippy.
the last time I got rid of Captain Underpants, the whole world was destroyed. I just want to make sure that the world can survive the next 30 years without him. And it looks like it can.
Tippy marched over to the elementary school and placed George and Harold and the 2 pets on the ground.
Get comfortable, boys.
Said Tippy.
I'm gonna destroy Captain Underpants once and for all. And I want you kids to have the best seats in the house.
George and Harold looked up in horror as slightly younger tiny Tippy began knocking Mr. Krupp around like a beanbag.
I can't watch.
Said Harold as he petted his pet pterodactyl, who only seemed to be getting sicker. Sulu scampered around the playground, finding twigs and branches and leaves, and weaving them into a nest to help keep Crackers warm.
Remember,
Said George.
if we ever get out of this mess, I'm gonna straighten up and start acting like grown-ups.
That's right.
Said Harold as he placed Crackers into the warm nest that Sulu had made.
We're going to be responsible and mature from now on.
As Tippy kicked Mr. Krupp around like a soccer ball, George and Harold got distracted by a loud commotion behind them. 2 teachers were yelling at the students on the playground, instructed them all to stop paying attention to the fierce struggle raging above them, and demanded that they straighten up and start acting like grown-ups. As the battle intensified, the obnoxious teacher screamed louder and louder, hurling threats and insults at the curious students.
Boy, I sure wish those 2 teachers would chill out.
Said George.
I know.
Said Harold.
They're yelling so loud I can't even hear the fight.
Suddenly, a rusty green 2034 Honda Civic pulled into the parking lot, and a familiar-looking character came storming out. It was Mr. Krupp. Only this was a 30-year older version of Mr. Krupp. He was wrinklier than George and Harold were used to, with a scruffy white beard and mustache, and pants pulled up to his armpits. Mr. Krupp marched toward the playground, opened up his mouth, and screamed 4 words that sent shivers down George and Harold's spines.
Mr. Beard! Mistress!
George and Harold froze.
Oh no!
Whispered Harold.
Oh, Mr. Crab recognized us.
What are we gonna do?
Asked George.
How are we ever gonna get out of this mess?
Old Mr. Crab marched toward George and Harold, getting closer and closer as they shivered in horror. Then Old Man Crab walked past George and Harold and continued walking towards the playground.
Mr. Beard, Mr. Hijinks,
He screamed again.
get those kids inside right now.
Who is he talking to?
Asked George.
I had no idea.
Asked Harold. Finally, the two screaming teachers turned around. Chapter 21. George and Harold's Worst Nightmare. Do you know that feeling you get when your stomach sinks? It usually occurs just after a realization that something bad has happened or is going to happen. People often feel this way when they discover they forgot to study for a big test, or they're going to miss a school bus, or the giant gulp of milk they just swallowed expired 3 weeks ago. Now imagine that feeling magnified about 1 trillion times. This is the feeling that occurred in George and Harold's stomachs when the two obnoxious screaming teachers turned around. It was them! More precisely, it was future versions of themselves. George and Harold had grown up to be teachers, but they weren't the nice, wonderful, imaginative teachers that you might be used to. No sir. George and Harold had evolved into the terrifying, boring, and vengeful teachers that they were used to. Mr. Crab squished between 40-year-old Harold and 39-3/4-year-old George and slapped a sweaty arm around each of them.
I sure am glad you fellas are here.
Said Mr. Crab.
It's a tough job making everybody miserable, isn't it?
It sure is, boss, said 40-year-old Harold.
You know, it's hard to believe that you guys used to be the craziest kids in the school.
Said Mr. Crab.
Thank goodness you both started taking life seriously.
Yeah.
Said 39-3/4-year-old George.
One day about 30 years ago, we saw the ways. So we made a vow to straighten up and fly right.
Yup, said 40-year-old Harold. From then on, it was nothing but serious study, strict discipline, and... Hey, you kids! Cut that out! George and Harold walked nervously at each other as their adult doubles continued screaming at the unfortunate children on our playground.
Remember that vow we just made to stop goofing around and start acting more like grown-ups?
Asked Harold.
Yeah.
Said George.
I think we should vow the new vow that unvows the old vow we just vowed.
Said Harold.
Let's get vowing.
Said George. So as the terrifying battle raged above their heads, George and Harold shook hands and promised to always be themselves. They pledged to keep goofing around and to make even more comic books and to stop taking life so darn seriously.
Let's daydream more too.
Said George.
Yeah.
Said Harold.
Enough of this sitting still and paying attention stuff.
As George and Harold vowed their new vows, something strange began to happen. A soft wind began to blow, the sound of wind chimes began to tinkle in the air, and the grown-up versions of George and Harold slowly disappeared. They vanished gradually at first. Then after about a minute or so, Mr. Crab was left standing there all by himself.
Wow.
Said George.
You mean it's that easy? All you had to do was make up your mind to stick to it, and you can change the future?
Yeah, I guess so.
Said Harold. George and Harold walked up to old Mr. Crab, who was looking a little confused, and snapped their fingers. Suddenly, a familiar smile stretched across old Mr. Crab's face.
Well?
Said George, pointing up at the terrifying battle exploding above their heads.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah!
Said Harold.
You're getting your butt kicked up there! Come help yourself!
Quickly, old Mr. Crab tore off his clothes, dashed into school, grabbed a red card from his office, and flew out of his window with a triumphant
Tra-la-la!
Old Captain Underpants immediately rescued Mr. Crab and brought him back down to the ground. Wow, I'm sure glad that's over with, said Mr. Crab.
Relax, bud.
Said George.
You're just getting started.
And with a snap of George and Harold's fingers, Mr. Crab returned to his heroic self once again and flew to the sky to fight along his future self. Chapter 22, the incredibly graphic violence chapter, part 2, in A Fistful of Nose Hairs. A sky-high kick in the eye. The tooth hurts. Chapter 23, How the Universe Really Began. Swabby younger Tiny Tippy might have been ginormous and careful, but he was no match for two Captain Underpantses. He fell to his massive robotic knees in a thunderous cloud of agonizing defeat. But Swabby younger Tiny Tippy wasn't ready to give up just yet. He reached out to his control panel and pressed the nuclear bomb button, which was immediately located between the strawberry milkshake button and the roll-fat mint chocolate chip cookie dispenser. Suddenly, a panel at the rear of the Robo-Boxers opened up, and a 160-ton thermonuclear bomb emerged.
You may have defeated me,
said Swabby younger Tiny Tippy as he pressed the button that started countdown to doomsday.
but I still get the last laugh.
Suddenly, a line on the side of the bomb began to flash red. A computerized voice emanating from the bomb's arming system began to count down.
This bomb will detonate in 60 seconds,
said the voice.
No!
Screamed George.
Last time one of those bombs went off, it killed all the dinosaurs!
But this bomb is way bigger than the last one.
Cried Harold.
This bomb could blow up the entire planet.
Correction.
Said slightly younger tiny Tippy.
I disactivated my gravitron levitator, which will give this bomb more destructive powers than a supernova. That thing's gonna blow up our entire galaxy!
this bomb will detonate in 30 seconds,
said the computerized voice.
We're doomed again!
Screamed Harold.
Well,
said George.
it was fun while it lasted! So long, old friend!
Bye.
Said Harold. As the two friends shook hands, a huge gust of wind almost blew them over. It was Crackers and Sulu. George and Harold's pet swooshed by them as they flew up to the opening of the radioactive Robo-Boxers and floated down to the command center inside. Sulu's robotic brain quickly figured out the complex control panel to tickle time travel meter, and together the two animal friends began mashing down the buttons on the switchboard.
this bomb will detonate in 15 seconds,
said the computerized voice as Crackers feverishly pecked at the controls. Finally, Sulu pushed down hard on the away we go button, and the radioactive Robo-Boxers were enveloped in a gigantic ball of blue light. Suddenly, the radioactive Robo-Boxers and the three occupants were zapped back in time 13.7 billion years ago, back to a time before time existed, before anything existed. There was no Earth, no sun, no plants, no universe. There was nothing at all. Except for the computerized countdown on a 116-ton thermonuclear bomb.
this bomb will detonate in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Chapter 24. To make a long story short, Chapter 25. The Big KA-BLOOSH Theory. The heat from the exploding supernova caused the universe to spring into existence and expand rapidly. As it expanded, it also began to cool, allowing its energy to be converted into lots of different subatomic particles. It wasn't long before these particles combined to form atoms, which combined to form matter, which combined to form stars and planets and you and me and everything around us. Scientists usually refer to this event as the Big Bang Theory, but to be honest, the explosion sounded way more like a kabloosh than a simple bang. I guess it just had to be there. Chapter 26. What if we weren't today? Remember at the beginning of this book when I told you you'd be smarter by page 198 than the world's most brilliant scientists? Well, congratulations! You now know what killed the dinosaurs, who started the last ice age, and how our universe actually began. Unfortunately, this information is not something you can use for any practical benefits. So if you ever get tested on this stuff in school, please don't answer with the truth. I can guarantee you, it will not go well. This is the unfortunate way of super smart people like us. There is rarely a place where we can use our vast knowledge, so we must be content to simply roll our eyes at people, shake our heads patronizingly, and sing that inspiring old song, I'm smarter than you, na 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 na. For your convenience, sheet music has been provided on the following page. Chapter 27. Meanwhile, 30 years from now,
Where'd they go?
cried George as he looked up into the sky where Tippy's radioactive Robo-Boxers had just stood.
They disappeared.
Said Harold.
They just vanished without a trace.
Captain Underpants' bearded old twin flew down to George and Harold.
What are we going to do now?
Asked old Captain Underpants.
Why don't you go fly into that school and splash some water on your face?
Said Harold.
Sure thing, boss.
Said old Captain Underpants. He flew straight to the nearest drinking fountain, and in no time at all, he returned to his crabby old self.
Well,
Said George.
what are we gonna do now? We're stuck in the future without a time machine.
George?
Said Harold, as he looked down at Crackers' nest.
We've got no money, no identification, no nothing.
Said George.
George?
said Harold again, looking closer into the nest.
It's not like we just go back to school and start over where we left off.
George?
Said George.
What?
Said Harold a third time. Asked George finally. Harold pointed at the nest that Sue had made for crackers. In the center of the nest were 3 purple and orange speckled eggs. George's mouth dropped open.
What are those?
He cried.
I guess Crackers wasn't sick after all.
Said Harold.
He was pregnant.
Crackers is a boy! Boys can't lay eggs!
Maybe Crackers is a girl.
Said Harold.
Yeah,
Said George.
I guess that would make more sense.
George and Harold carefully picked up the eggs and examined them.
You gotta keep these eggs warm until Crackers and Sue get back.
Said George.
But we don't know where they went.
Said Harold.
We don't even know if they will be back.
Then we're just gonna have to raise these eggs on our own.
Said George.
That's the least we can do.
Chapter 28. The final chapter of the very last Captain Underpants epic novel. Yeah, okay, we get it. George and Harold and Captain Underpants each held an egg close to their bodies to keep them warm. Then they started walking.
Where are we going to now?
Asked Harold.
I guess we should try our houses first.
Said George.
Maybe our parents still live there.
Good idea.
Said Harold. Suddenly, a bright ball of flashing light appeared in front of them. The flashing got more and more intense until it finally exploded with a blast of crackling lightning. And there, where the flashing ball of light had been, was a gigantic glow-in-the-dark robotic squid. The top of the robo-squid opened, and George and Harold's nemesis, Melvin Seaweed, popped his head up.
Greetings!
Said Melvin.
I have come from the past to bring you guys back home.
Hey, wait a minute.
Said George incredulously.
How'd you know where to find us?
Let's just say an old friend lend me to you.
Said Melvin.
Hey.
Said George.
Works for me.
Said Harold.
You see,
Melvin continued.
when I designed Skolo's robotic endoskeleton, I installed a...
Alright!
Said George, interrupting.
Yeah.
Said Harold.
We started listening like 10 seconds ago.
Well, listen to this!
Melvin shouted as he reached down and grabbed our heroes with his robo-squid arms.
You free losers and your precious eggs are coming with me!
Where are you taking us?
Cried George.
You'll see soon, no.
Melvin laughed maniacally.
You'll see soon enough!
Suddenly, the gigantic glow-in-the-dark time-traveling super squid began to shake and sputter in a buzzing ball of electrified light.
Oh no!
Cried George.
Here we go again.
Cried Harold.
One, two, three.